Welcome to another episode of Morning Mojo. Hope you're doing well on this morning. I'm joined on the sofa today in the studio by Debbie Bryan. I'm super excited. Debbie, I'm going to get straight into the content. You've got one hell of a story to get through today. How we're going to do it in 20 minutes, I don't know.
I don't know how you can do it.
But
I'll try my best.
I've got a couple of notes here about your story and what memorable moments over your career have stood out for you and taught you valuable lessons.
Wow. Well, I guess really, we were just mentioning it before, is 13 years ago I had a car accident, and at the time I was an absolute workaholic. I had a hair salon in a gym, had another salon in David Lloyd, and that was my life consumed really. And I never really felt like I was a proper business owner. I always felt a little bit fake business owner, that I hadn't quite made it. And when I had the car accident, none of that actually came into my head. So that was a real pivot to go, actually, when push come to shove, none of that really mattered quite as much as I thought it did. So I vowed then not to be a workaholic, and obviously failed miserably so many times over the last 13 years, but really pulled it back. It just made me go, what are my values? What are my values in business? And who can I help? Who can I help and what can I do? More so than before, it's all about me, me, me. I'd just taken over the salon. My business partner had gone, and I'd relaunched it and then smashed up my legs. And so that was like, okay, how do we do this now?
Yeah. Now, the accident was really bad. I mean, we got connected first and foremost by Tony Pilling told me about you. And then through Brock and your partnerships and things, I got to know you better and things like that. And we spoke when we first met, I think, properly at the Directors Club.
Yeah, when we had lunch.
Yeah. And you was telling me the story. I mean, if you don't mind, just
No.
because I think it's remarkable how, making it possible to still,
Yeah,
pursue
so I
life,
bought a car, and I could do a shorter version now. I actually did my TED talk literally on this story. So I'd bought a car,
I
an old
wasn't going to
banger.
mention the TED talk anyway,
No, don't
It's
mention
a
the
little
TED
tiny
talk.
little thing, but yeah.
I saved it to the end.
Yes.
But I bought a car. I think it was Coventry or somewhere. We'd gone and got this car, and it was an old banger, like really an old banger, like 700 quid car. We'd had company cars, and there's a whole mileage thing that goes on that drove me nuts. And so I was like, I just want to own my car. Went and got it. My husband drove it home. About 10, 15 miles from Swindon, I was like, swap over. We had a beautiful BMW that they'd lent us for that day. Another crash actually, but we won't go into that one. And I was like, take this and go pick the boys up and I'll go to the shop. And I get onto the dual carriageway and literally the car just lost power, like completely lost the power. And I was like, I don't know what's happened. And I'm in the outside lane, of course, I wouldn't be in the sensible lane. And so somehow I managed to get it over to drift over these two lanes. And it's a really busy dual carriageway, like January. So I managed to drift over and get there and pulled in. Said to my husband, like, maybe I've run out of petrol. I don't know, because we've driven it so far already. So he said, okay, fine, I'll loop back around to the services. And my biggest concern was not the traffic going past, because I think I was fairly safe. Like, obviously, you could feel the rocking if the lorries went past because it was fast. But I only had one bar on my phone. That was my main concern. And then he pulled up behind me. I want to do this really quick. He pulled up behind me. I jumped to the car to go to the petrol can. Somebody smashed into the back of him and he was fine. The car just shunted forward. It's BMW, did right off, and then carried on coming towards me. And I was stood by the side of the dual carriageway and literally had nowhere to go. And I just thought, I'm going to die and this is going to hurt. And then after that, I kind of fought back. I was just like, no, I'm not going. I'm not gonna go. My boys still need me. And I took these two random steps, literally two random steps. And those two steps saved my life.
Wow.
But then I did get knocked into the road after that, and I got knocked over and ended up on all fours, and then I was in the dual carriageway, and I was like, "Did I say bugger?" Too late, I said it. But I was like, "Bugger!" Now I'm going to have to do it again, or I'm going to get run over. So then I had to crawl to the side of the road, and that was that really. But I was the luckiest person in the world.
Sure.
Even in the hospital, I told everybody I was the luckiest person in the world. I think they thought I was very medded up, but I was, when they said, "You poor thing," I've got the leg in a cage because it broke. And they would say to me, "Poor you." And I say, "Don't poor me. I'm the luckiest person in the world. I should be in the morgue. And I'm not in the morgue. So this is good."
So then how does that change your outlook now? So the Debbie before that accident and the Debbie now, your mindset, I mean, this show's all about motivating, inspiring people. How did that change the way that you think?
So, I mean, I was euphoric for the first year, like irritatingly so euphoric, but I was very much like, I'm still here. So I need to just make the best of it. I very much thought, well, my understanding of broken leg was, 6 weeks, plaster, people write rude things on it, and then back to your life. So my recovery was brutal. I had no idea that it was going to take so long, be so painful. 6 months not walking, as a hairdresser, that's pretty tough. My surgeons gave me different solutions and I argued with them to a certain extent. They said I would lose the use of my leg. And I said, no, that's not right. That's not the right answer. I'm not a big believer in no, meaning no. I think it just means ask another person. And that very much was there. And so in terms of for my business, anything's possible. Anything's possible. I managed to escape death. I managed to take 2 steps, save my own life, crawl to the side of the road. In terms of my business, it actually grew my business, which is crazy. It was absolutely crazy because we're all told work on your business and not in your business.
Hmm.
And I had the massive ego of like, I'm the only person who can cut hair and keep this business going. And, I won't get a receptionist, which is what everyone tells you to do. And then eventually I became the receptionist. One of my friends ran into the hospital, Bev, she ran into the hospital, said, Deb, I'll take over your salon for you. And I was like, no chance of you doing that. I'm going to be back in 3 weeks.
Mm.
Deluded, honestly. But she did actually move her home salon into my salon and looked after my staff because they were all part-time. And so eventually I used to just go in on one of the days and answer the phone while she was working and some of the other girls weren't there. And I made loads of money. And
Mm.
this was such an eye-opener because prior to that, I had a 17-year-old apprentice answering the phone. Wasn't any sales, or somebody was already doing hair and they'd be like, yeah. Right, okay, great, thanks, bye. And there was no time. So
Mm.
when I sat on that, I could only do that. I could
Mm.
only prop
Mm.
my leg underneath. So when they phoned up and said, can I get a haircut? Can you squeeze me in? You have a proper conversation and know your clients. Say, you'll overdo your colour. And they'd be like, yeah, you can't fit that in. I'd be like, of course I can.
Yeah.
So then that phone call went from being a 40 quid call to 120, 130 pound call.
Yeah.
So that's a receptionist's wages paid all day long.
Yeah.
So that was a big lesson. And I think for a lot of people it's getting past that ego
Sure.
because otherwise you'll get to 6 figures and run out of you.
Yeah, sure. Now you talk about, anything's possible, and we hear this a lot at the minute. There's a great film out there I discovered many, many years ago now called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
It was a book first, then turned into a movie. There's a lot of people out there that's preaching all this good word and anything's possible, and but it's more than wishful thinking, though, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
What's the kind of nuggets that you can give our listeners and viewers from anything's possible? Because everyone would like to think so. And I
Well,
think we're only
everything's
using a small
possible.
amount of our mindset as well. That's
Yeah.
the other thing, right?
So I think everything is possible if you really, really want to do it. If I think of something that I might be talked into for someone else, we're all a little bit shiny penny entrepreneurs.
Sure.
We're very much, top of the mountain is the bottom of the next one. We keep going.
Mm.
If I can walk away from something, then I know it's not for me. But if I can't walk away from something, then I will do anything possible to make it work. I don't believe, and I genuinely don't believe that no means no. I do think that it means just go and ask another person or
Mm.
go and find another way. Because if in your heart there's a yes, you know that you're right, and you've got all these red lighters around you saying, don't do that, that's dangerous. If you've got a mission and you've got a passion, then you need to just keep going and finding out how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Work it out, go and get some help from somebody, go and, get a mentor or a coach, or, go and do some research on the internet or whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And even the other thing is to kind of, I like to reverse engineer a lot of my clients. So if someone wants to do, I'm going to keep the maths really simple.
Yes.
Someone wants to do 120 grand in a year. Yeah. They want to start a business. So we're like, okay, that's achievable. It's 10 grand a month. It's 2.5 grand a week. It's 500 quid a day. Now you get up on a Monday morning, you've got to make 500 quid today.
Yeah.
How many people does it take for you to talk to get a sale of 500 quid? Then rinse and repeat that 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, you're on 120. We are very much like, I find most businesses want to eat the elephant in one bite rather
Sure.
than, one bite at a time.
Yes.
So if that makes sense.
It does make perfect sense. And it's, just break it down to the ridiculous, really. And just,
break it down to the hour. If you've got a 3-in-1 conversion, which is a typical sales thing, yeah. So speak to 3 people and sell 1, and you've got a product that's 500 quid, then you do that, right? You get up in the morning and you do that. You don't do the invoicing. You don't do your social media. You do, and I call it money making activity. You do the money making activity first. It's the first thing on your list.
Yes.
And you don't do anything else until you stop that.
Yes. On my notes here, I've got adversity to triumph,
Mm-hmm.
a journey of resilience, people profiling, playing cards. What can you
People
tell me
profile
about
is
that?
lovely. So, okay, I have a in the pack of cards. I have a personality, but there's a lot of profiles out there, like disc profile, etc. I found somebody gave me 32 pages of feedback and it blew my mind because I couldn't be bothered to read it because I have a fast mind. So I was like, right, this doesn't work. And I discovered this other personality profile and it's just four. So it's based on a pack of cards. So you have a heart. So is your heart person who is a team player, wants everybody to do well, isn't really interested in winning unless everybody wins. So all of these are like the top personalities. Okay, so you've got heart, you've got a club. A club is somebody that is very detail orientated, needs facts, figures, percentages, needs to know that they're right before they can make a decision. The downside with that is that they maybe look like they procrastinate because they don't want to be wrong. It's very painful for them to be wrong. So they'll take a long time to make a decision. But when they do, it's right because they want to be the expert in the room. You have the spade, who's normally an entrepreneur, more interested in winning than people, doesn't really care about people, will go the extra mile to win, and is normally a very, very fast entrepreneur. And I sit sometimes in that. And then you've got the diamond. The diamond is your luxury person who, you want to plan an event. They're the person that you want. They can come across as like, they want the win, they want the excitement, they want the fun, but they've got a really, really high boredom threshold. So if you take all four of those personalities, and this works in your relationships as well as in your business. So if I was a diamond type person, and I go and recruit somebody and I'm like, oh my God, we get on like a house on fire. We're best buddies. Like the worst person I could recruit because they can only do what I can do. I need the club, the person that can't do the details that I don't do and don't like doing, but they love the details. So together we're a good match. So if I was planning an event, I would get my diamond to do the event, but I would get the club to make sure that there's a bus and some tickets and, no one gets arrested. And I would get the heart to bring the people because they've got the people and no one gives a damn about the spade because they don't like people anyway. So that's how it fits together in your business quite easily. And if you look at if you've got a teenager that goes, you don't understand me, actually, you probably don't.
Sure.
Because the way that it works is that you have to go into somebody else's language. This is what it's not so much about personality, it's about their language. And you have to understand what they need and what they desire, what motivates them and what doesn't motivate them. And if you understand that and go into somebody else's language, then you're going to get the best out of your team.
Sure. So which one did you say you were?
I'm probably spade stroke diamond. So this is interesting. Okay. I am spade. I'm very driven and I'm very like, I've got a little bit of heart in me. So I'm like, everybody come and do this. And if they don't, I'm doing it anyway. Sorry.
Round one.
Yeah. And my husband is a club. Okay. So he's the no man. He says no to everything. And I'm like, don't bother. He'd be like, what if we go to the pub and there's no tables? I'm like, somebody will move. But what if they don't move? Well, then we go to another pub. So he's like, and I realized with him is that it actually gave him anxiety, the thought of going to a pub and being a little bit humiliated that there was no room for him. So now I've just phoned the pub and say, have you got tables? Yes. Okay, great. Then we don't row for 20 minutes on the way to this beautiful country pub, which is what we'd done before. Conversely, when we go on holiday, we get on brilliantly. And I've been married a long time. We get on great on holiday because I turn into a diamond. All I care about is the luxury and enjoying myself and no responsibility. And he turns into a heart who wants me to have a great time. And is like, what sun lounger do you want to drink? And so we should be on holiday our whole life, really. It'd be much better
Well,
for
that
us.
sounds like a plan.
Yeah, it does. I've worked very closely to that plan, trust me.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, if you take that into your business, but if you take that into your business and go, the biggest mistake I think that, say someone who's got a spade personality like me, is that I can chuck money at you and you're going to work harder.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the generation that are coming up now are not actually motivated by that. So if you just go work 60 hours for the next 6 months and I'll give you a bunch of money, you're not going to get anything out of them.
No.
If you go, okay, so what is it that you want to be recognized? So the detail person that needs the facts, figures and stuff to be regulated and to prove, like social proof, that person, if you give them the facts and the figures they need and they can make a decision and then you reward them for making that decision. And it could be, a bottle of wine, an Amazon voucher, half day off, nothing that's really expensive, will be so much more loyal and so much more motivated to help you to win the whatever it is that you're trying to win in your business than they would be if this delayed gratification happens 6 months down the line when they're exhausted and they're fed up of getting it wrong and feel stupid. Like, I don't know if we've got time. I'll tell you where this came from. Was I accidentally bullied somebody 26 years ago.
Okay.
And accidentally, yeah.
Okay.
So as a team leader in a call center, a very, very busy call center, I had one of my team that I was trying to explain a procedure to.
Mhm.
And I must have told him 5 times. And he kept coming back to me every day and saying, I don't understand. And I'm like, oh my God, inside my head, obviously. But I was like,
Mm, mm.
what don't you understand? I've told you like 5 times. And someone pulled me away and they said, he's never going to understand you because he doesn't understand your language. You know, you're saying, see it, do it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't that type of person. So I was like, okay, I come away from it. But I probably had made him feel really rubbish about himself because every time he's coming to me, I'm kind of seething inside.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
although I didn't say
Frustrated
anything,
and
yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's embarrassed that he's stupid. And in reality was just a miscommunication, you know? So the next day I sat him down and I gave him a notepad and I said, whatever you need, just tell me what you need to do. Write the procedure, write your questions. Let's go through it until you're 100% sure.
Sure.
And it was one and done.
Sure.
And so that was a big lesson to me to go,
Yeah.
I don't want to ever make anybody feel like that. So
Mm.
using these just 4 simple ones, it means that people like me have got a fast brain, can understand it.
Sure.
But it means that you give somebody what they need and what they want to motivate them.
Sure. Okay, I've got this. Now, I'm going to have to whistle through a few more of the questions
Yeah,
because I knew this
I
was
know.
happening. I could speak to you for ages. Sales tips, all right, for our listeners and viewers, and how we can master the cold call.
Okay, so let's go back to the personalities because that fits really nicely, is understand the person you're talking to. If you're talking to a couple, understand the dynamics of who. So first sales tip would be talk to the buyer. Don't have a conversation with anybody else. If the buyer is not sat in front of you, you're wasting your time. You can do all that you want. If the person who's going to pay the money isn't there, forget it. Second is to work out who you've got sat opposite you and talk to them accordingly. So somebody whose heart is all about the team, all about the family, all about everybody doing really well. Somebody who is the club wants that social proof. They want you to give them the facts and figures. Try and give me some tech stuff. I'm like, does it work for me? Will it get me to where I want to be? Yes or no? I'm in very fast decision making.
Sure.
And the diamond wants the fun. You know, they don't want to know about anything boring at all. So if you were selling a car, for example, you'd have to apply that to who wants reliable, who wants the people carrier, who wants the racing car, and who wants the one that's literally the best, and then sell to them accordingly. And if you're doing a cold call, then you're going to need to do a little bit of research or at least spend a couple of minutes trying to work out who that person is on the end of the phone. There's a thing that someone told me is that your brain understands language at the speed that you speak. So I speak very fast, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're quite fast.
Uh-huh.
So if someone's speaking really slowly to me, I'm like, come on,
Sure.
get to the point. And my brain's wandered.
Yes.
Whereas I'm quite fast. And if I speak really fast to somebody who's just got just a brain chemistry,
Sure.
they go, I don't understand your accent.
I got you. Now, look, we've got to talk about TEDx.
Yeah.
An amazing achievement. What was that like for you and your
Oh,
kind of thoughts?
Best 15 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
My husband won't watch this, I'm sure.
That's right, yeah.
I hope he doesn't.
And why was that? I mean, we all know the brand of
Yeah.
TEDx. You know, it's a phenomenal platform.
Because I couldn't speak. A couple of years ago. I worked with a coach and he's like, I'll make you a speaker. And the first time he asked me to speak, I was like, who's going to listen to Debbie from Swindon? I got totally intimidated by the room. And I used to catch my breath. I used to like do the whole speak in one breath and nearly fall over afterwards. I used to go bright red. I used to worry about the room. And so I'm just like, if Debbie from Swindon can get to a TED Talk, then anyone can do it.
Sure.
Realistically.
Sure.
And then when I said I was going to do it, people were like, sure you are. Yeah, of course. So I was like, oh, I'm going to show you.
Yeah. Well, people can check out your TED Talk online, right? The TEDx Talk. But what's your advice to other people, you know, that, you know, who want to do that? Just keep going on, keep believing, keep what, you know?
So my advice to other people is to be visible, right? Being the best kept secret in the room does not give you any big business. So if ever you've been in a situation where you go, how did that guy get that contract? I'm better than that person, is because they were visible,
Sure.
because they talked about what they did. And so doing the podcast, getting live on wherever your industry is, to stop being this person standing in the corner going, I'm good enough and people will come to me.
Sure.
It doesn't work like that anymore.
No. Hence why I put these kind of shirts on from Martin and Budge and Bodmin, you know, big shout out to these guys just to stand out a little bit. What about motivational kind of quotes? Anything that you've lived by, any mentors that's ever kind of put some nuggets out there and you kind of say, yeah, I like that. Just short, punchy ones, anything that.
Well, obviously, I've got the no doesn't mean no, which the TED tried to kick out. To be honest, they didn't like that very much.
Yes.
Always ask for forgiveness and not permission.
I like that one.
It's a bit of a naughty one, that one.
It is a naughty one, but I like that one.
And then I had a Tony Robbins thing. So when I did my bike ride that I thought was impossible and terrified me, I never had enough time in my day. And Tony Robbins said there's willpower enough isn't enough. So take 3 habits that you've got that are taking you away from what you want to do and turn those 3 habits into things that will take you towards what you want to do. So
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't know if we've got time, but basically that day I realized that I worked from home and then would maybe go from my desk to the cooker and
Yes.
start cooking the evening meal, and there was no gap in between. So I was like, how am I going to find time to train? If I really want to do this, I have to train. So I revolutionary set my clock for 5 o'clock alarm every day. Monday to Friday, 5 o'clock alarm, do not work. Do not work for 2 hours. So I'd say normally finish about 7:30. And that actually changed my life. And when I told people, they were like, oh, that's amazing. Like, it's not really amazing, but I stop work at 5 o'clock. I don't start till 9 and I finish at 5, unless I'm doing something that I need. But what that did for me was it gave me this window to do all the stuff that meant I could train at the weekend and stop time wasting in the day.
Sure.
Like, you don't chit chat to somebody for half an hour when you need to finish at 5.
Yeah, and I always say this is like when people come in and do podcasts, they'll say, "Well, how long do we get to do the podcast?" I said, "Well, look, it just needs to be as long as it needs to be."
Yeah.
Right. So don't just keep talking for talking's sake. Just say what you need to say and get on with your day
Yeah.
and meet
Well,
someone else. You
it's
know?
like TED. So for TED is 15 minutes and 3 things. That's how they pitch the TED. So they believe that you can only concentrate for 15 things and you can only process 3 things.
Hmm.
So then, even my TED the day before was 18 minutes 43, and they were like, get it down to 15.
Sure.
Of course, the lights coming on halfway through added a little bit to it.
Yes.
I thought that was get your coat. I thought they were like, get off the stage.
Get off.
Yeah. Imposter, go. It stays there, like Debbie from Swindon. She's in there somewhere. Like.
Debbie from Swindon, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the set of Morning Mojo this
Thank
morning.
you.
I do want to kind of wrap up with this final question, and that is for our listeners, for our viewers, and we're starting to build good traction just in a few weeks since starting. Some amazing guests. It continues to happen, like yourself. Parting words of inspiration, motivation for our listeners that you can just put out there to the world. This is your moment.
Okay. So my parting words are everything is possible. Nothing is impossible. Please, please don't take the no's. The no just means that you are in the wrong direction. You just need to pivot and find the right direction, either another way or another person. And there's no more that you need to do than that.
Yeah, I like that. Well, Debbie, I look forward to working with you more and more and more. You're an absolute inspiration. I'm so glad we have met. Our paths
Thank you.
have
This has been a
crossed.
pleasure.
And well, there we go. End of another podcast. I could speak to every guest a lot longer, certainly Debbie. So as always, my thanks to the wonderful producers of this podcast. And that is, of course, Megan and Jay, who's put this all together. Thank you so, so much. Like it, share it, love it, subscribe, all those things. And we'll see you in the next episode. Make sure you connect with this lady. She is phenomenal. Until next time, have the most amazing remainder of your day.